if anything comes out of this, and I told Nick there's certain things I wouldn't say, but if anything comes out, I'm going to take it as retaliatory. I'm not bashing them, but I'm speaking facts of my own experience.
That's a part of the system that obviously needs some work.
I'm doing everything by the book, and I do my own research, okay?
If the business case works for you, you shouldn't let this part of the process hinder you. I would strongly recommend that you don't give up on Milwaukee yet. I feel strongly enough that I would try to convince you to dispel those thoughts. Put it this way, from your experience now, it was a very bad experience, and you unfortunately had to work with the people who don't take their job as seriously as some of the others. And you are extremely correct. And as Alex pointed out earlier, these departments have distinct, and I'm choosing that carefully, roles, are apparently distinct roles, because in reality, they should all be working to one big goal. But you have this silo with the DCD part that who are the people, I think, whom you would have purchased the buildings from, the city development people. And then you have the review part, the building code review part, and then you have the enforcement piece. Now, if the reviewer and enforcement arms were, tuned in well enough, your experience would not be as bad. And just so you know, I am saying this from the background of spending quite a bit of time as owner's rep. So, and I've worked with a number of projects inside the city of Milwaukee. And I am fully aware that there are many instances where you encountered persons who treat the whole process the way you describe.
Mm-hmm.
However, from experience, we know that these are individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming that you get to the persons who better understand the objectives, the things could work much more smoothly. And I understand in your case, you actually went to the supervisor. Now, there is a inherent problem there, because the supervisor in front of his worker oftentimes is a bit more reluctant to not support him. So what we have had to do is get them differently. In other words, get them in different places, convey the information, convey your side of the story, so that they fully understand the background, that they get a good sense that your aim is not to skirt the system, but more to that you want to conform, but you're dealing with real hardship and real life unique situations that deserve some amount of consideration. And with that approach, I have found that we have been able to navigate the system and get things working. And just the last point here, in a number of instances, it's easier in some of these smaller cities, because you don't have this large bureaucracy that you have in a jurisdiction like the city of Milwaukee. The things are a lot different. I mean, you have in this state, for example, the state of Wisconsin, you have 3 what's called certified jurisdictions. Milwaukee is one of that 3. And so they have a fully robust system that deals with everything. In many of the other municipalities, they have a small, just their inspection system, their reviewer and their inspector are often the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So their processes tend to be a lot easier to deal with. So I do understand exactly what you're saying, and I have seen the problems that you describe, and I've in a number of instances experienced them. But there are ways of overcoming those. So my recommendation would be there are a number of advantages to still using the properties in Milwaukee. And I would strongly recommend that you don't give up on Milwaukee yet.
I'll sleep on it.
I appreciate that.
When you encounter things like, just the permit process,
I get
the emails, it's like, well, it's been 2 years. We've noticed you haven't gotten any inspections on this building. Well, I can't get this inspection because I don't have a permit yet. So you get what I'm saying? So the only thing I can do is get the electrical inspection, which I've done, but I don't want to get this.
And in fact, the inspections, my guess is that the inspections that they're describing are code enforcement inspections, which you can't get until your building is occupied anyway.
Correct.
So, but again, that's a part of the system that obviously needs some work. And I think the more we bring it to some of these guys' attention, the better it is. But notwithstanding all of that, I mean, there's still, if the business case works for you, you shouldn't let this part of the process hinder you. Is kind of what I'm recommending, because it can be navigated. That's again one little advantage with Milwaukee. It's large enough that there have been instances when myself and my clients thought that a specific plan reviewer had not been fully understanding. I'm deliberately choosing the words now, of the specific nuances of our project. And therefore, we requested that we be assigned another reviewer.
Hey, I got to drop. Okay, no, that's cool. All right, appreciate you, Alex. I'll catch you in a little bit.
From an owner's perspective, if there's a business case, if the business case can be made, in other words, if it's beneficial business-wise to the owner should not let the permitting issue be that which prevent them from going ahead with their business. Because there are people who spend a lot of time navigating these issues. And so with the appropriate guidance, you'll be able to get it done. So long as it works for you business-wise, don't let the permitting part.
I understand. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I came up with that, why I feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
I see a bunch of vacant city buildings in the city of Milwaukee, okay? And next thing you know, you see one's been purchased, then you see a Boost Mobile. It's like, man, they did that pretty quickly, okay? Yep. So then when I asked that question in the meeting, well, these guys, they do work without permits, everything is not done by the book. I'm like, well, why haven't you shut them down? Why aren't they getting fines every month? Why are they continuing to be allowed to do business? And I'm trying to take every step the right way, and I'm hitting every hurdle possible. I've been on jobs where I've seen people do some, let's say, plumbing without an electrical permit. Our inspector comes in and says, tear the walls down. I want to see what's behind the walls. Rightfully so. Okay. So how is a Boost Mobile or somebody, I understand they're big, national global company. But why are they continuing to be able to operate? And that they didn't pull permits, they didn't get occupancy, but they're continuing in business. Why can't I do it the right way? That means you're showing me that there are ways to go around things. Okay. We can look past certain things. Okay. We can bend a little bit. So what the person that's actually losing money, losing time, you want to fight me for doing things the right way. But okay, well they do, and they blew the conversation off. Oh, they do a lot of work without permits and build. You just blew it off. That's not right. So that's why I felt like, if it seems a little bit of favoritism. If anything comes out of this, and I told Nick there's certain things I wouldn't say, but if anything comes out, I'm going to take it as retaliatory. I'm not bashing them, but I'm speaking facts of my own experience.
So I am personally aware of a number of instances where I personally have been involved with a number of complaints similar to the ones you described. And there are people there who care enough about this, who actually want this thing to work properly, who have a vision of a city that truly allows people to be able to develop here, as easily as possible within the rules. And that's why I was saying that, because I'm aware of that if the business case can be made, then you shouldn't let the permitting part, because like anything else, the department is made up of individuals, and some individuals, and in this case, it's unfortunate that the supervisor could not recognize the other part of their mission, because if you speak with them, you speak with the leadership, you'll understand that part of the mission, a big part, purported part of the mission, is the customer service part. Is to encourage people to want to develop here. So, they historically had a number of instances where people wanted to go around the rules. And so there is kind of a little default approach to being defensive. But the idea is, if the business case can be made, then you ought not. I would strongly recommend that you do not let the permitting part, because it's easier for you to put that into the hands of other people, so that you are isolated or better insulated from the trouble there. But
and I completely understand, and that's just, like I said, that's just a thought and a feeling I had, because I'm still currently,
but it's fear though.
Currently in the process. I'm still currently going through, so I never yet got over that hurdle to sit back and have that sigh of relief quite yet.
Got you.
I'm pretty sure that once I get to that stage, I probably feel a lot different.
And you will. You will.
I haven't hired everyone that I've hired to do anything. They're licensed. They pull permits. I've had an engineer draw out the HVAC plans. I've done everything. Right. So I'm not having someone that I grew up with next door that he does a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
I'm doing everything by the book, and I do my own research. Okay, so like as I stated before, if I can log into the website. And I know you said there's 3 departments, but if I can log into the City of Milwaukee website and I can put my address in, I know that I've been fined for a garbage. I know I've been fined for a broken window. I can see every single thing on that property. So if I see a new Boost Mobile, okay, and I see no permits, no fines, no operating without, when I don't see that stuff and they're continuing to operate, well, how did they get their occupancy? Why are they still allowed to operate and they've done everything the wrong way? Why are you fighting me trying to do things the right way? Fight the person doing it the wrong way. So it shouldn't be about a dollar sign to me. Okay, that makes it to me like it's more about the dollars. Okay, and I'm only using Boost Mobile.
No, I'm absolutely following you. I am absolutely.
If I myself can look up and see that. You haven't fined them for that. You haven't said there's nothing on record for this building before this person opened a business in this building. Why is it there nothing on record? So you're fighting me. I literally feel like I'm in a ring, and in a battle royal against the city of Milwaukee. And this person is sitting there, is sitting in the audience just watching and enjoying the fight. You know?
I get what you're saying. I have in the past had some of those experiences. I have also had a number of experiences where the plan reviewer and the inspectors have been extremely cooperative in trying to assist the owner whom I was representing to get their stuff done. So the point I'm making is that this is unfortunate because your reality is real. In other words, it's not like this is unique to you. Many other people have had it, and it's very painful and troublesome and unnecessary. But I still believe very strongly, actually, that it wouldn't be the best thing to give up on a good business idea just because of these people. I don't think that is...
I will take that into consideration. I do completely agree with that. But my feeling is not to give up on the current project. You know, I don't see myself, if I have to deal with this every step of the way for another project, it just discourages me to want to do that again.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that I will never do it.
No, I am with you.
This stage right now, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I want to get through. I want to breathe a little bit. I might, maybe 5 years down the road, I might sit back and say, you know what? I want to do it. I want to do it again.
Absolutely. And I tell you what I am saying. I would use the word unlikely that your next one would be like this.
Okay. Yes.
I tell you what I would say. And if I were you and providing you with advice, I would say, because of the experience with this last reviewer, that you request that not be your reviewer the next time. That's a request that is sometimes entertained.
Okay, yeah, that I would take that into heavy consideration. Yes. You know, and Nick can attest to this. We went back and forth for how long would you say we were back and forth this last go around for the HVAC? Would you say about a month?
You said it's somewhere around like 2 weeks. Or you said like, well, totally
no, the
when
whole
you started
process.
the conversation.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely like a month. I think we
Like
were
a month.
intensive conversation because I was basically I chimed in the conversation once I think he had addressed the email directly to me.
So we went back and forth for nearly about a month. Okay. And literally 2 weeks of that month, we were going back and forth about the fence before. Okay. So with one phone call, Nick received one phone call, okay, from the plan reviewer, and all of this stuff that we had been going back and forth about for about a month got resolved with one phone call. And so I don't understand. You see what I'm saying? Why the process was so long when it only took one phone call to clear up a lot of those issues.
So let me provide a guess based on past experience. My guess is that it's related to some of what I explained to you before. That the supervisor, after he left out of the presence of both, decided that it made sense for the big picture, based on their objectives, to waive some of these, or at least be a little bit more considerate with some of these, and provided guidance, go ahead and approve the permit. That's my guess.
Okay, what do you think happened next?
So let's just, since you brought up the actual phone call, I believe the reason why that phone call was so pivotal, because mind you, there had been a lot of conversing, like you said, for a month now, right? So we had gotten through all the belaboring details, right? And we had already got to such a point to where it just needed to be some clear, concise understanding of literally where we are right now, everything has been said, and then ultimately what the path was forward. So the phone call was more so, and actually from this certain plan reviewer, it a lot of times does culminate in one phone call. Now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, this other project, there was this one phone call and then we're all good after that. Is once he has all the information and once he has all his assumptions on the table and once he's poked all the bears, right? Then he goes, well, this is what I want. And this is my assumption of what is happening. And a lot of times I'm clearing up those assumptions on that phone call and going, listen, I don't care about any of that. We are trying to get a permit. Are you saying that? Because in Baron's instance, there was a double fence. He has a fence that was already permitted. And now they're saying for the actual AC condensing unit, that needs to be fenced in, which we're talking a little bitty box up against the building and a separate piece of landscaping that has nothing to do with the private. You see what I'm saying? So already
That's a
there's
6-foot tree.
misunderstanding. Right. Exactly. So put it like this. There was a
tree to hide the fence.
misunderstanding of right. But the second fence, you see what I'm saying? Because there was an ambiguity and he wasn't even speaking to that whole like going into the systems, looking at all the things, right? He wasn't even aware of some of the things that had already been, and related to the first fence. So there was a lot of like, hey, I'm going to clarify things so that you are super crystal clear on what has happened, what, he wasn't aware of the agreement with the owner, all those types of things. So that phone call essentially allowed us to get to a place of kumbaya. And then me literally on a piece of paper, I remember the piece of paper I had next to me. I said, listen, tell me exactly what you're saying is the case and in the sense of what you need to happen. And I think that the biggest thing for me on the be helpful side and what Alex used to do for me all the time when he reviewed my projects for all those years, especially I was just starting to submit directly to the city of Milwaukee. I had just started my firm. He would actually genuinely interpret the code and try to give me an actual like, no, kind of do this. You see what I'm saying? Like your option is to do this or that.
That's actually the point I was making, that the good ones, the better ones there do that. I am very willing. I once we come off air, without my station, I could very easily tell you who the reviewer was. Without you
Look,
without you
the one
telling
project
me.
we were working on with you. Yeah, the one project we were working on with you, same guy.
I know that. You didn't have to tell me. I knew it would, because as human beings, and some guys just have their view of the objectives are a bit different from how many people in that department interpret it. I guess what I've found is that this person does in fact know the words of the code. I mean, it's not, these aren't guys who just got up one. They know the words of the code. I deliberately said know the words of the code because in a number of instances, the issue is how you interpret the words of the code in the context of this specific project. That's where the issue. That's always the issue. And that is what, in my mind, distinguishes good from average, especially because part of their stated objective is to facilitate development. That's why in the past the permitting section was also a part of the Department of City Development, because they are supposed to be working to facilitate development, not to prevent it, but facilitate development in the interest of safety for the public, because that the only purpose these the plan reviewer and the inspectors serve is to ensure public safety and ensure conformance with the city ordinances. So the quality of life components. I mean, that's their only purpose. So basically, if they're good enough, they can do that and simultaneously satisfy the city's requirement for facilitating development within the city. But that's why I am a little bit more optimistic, because I'm aware that the city has an interest in developing. So if an inspector or our plan reviewer is preventing your development, assuming that you are better prevent your development while you are trying to do everything in conformance with the building code and city ordinance or all the applicable codes, then there are other steps that can be taken. The city as a legally, they are not allowed to prevent you from doing your development if you are in conformance with all the requirements. So
I think that's what you said right there. I think that is the knuckle, to tell someone they're not in compliance and to not help them bridge that gap.
That is
a passive way of obstructing development. You see what I'm saying? Like when you saying like, hey, no, you're supposed to know this. I always say this: the plan review process and just developing a building is the most complex process an average everyday I didn't go to school for this person could get themselves into. I mean, literally, if you get that plan review email, right? We've seen those plan review emails that are so many pages long. You literally don't even want to open it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what in the world do you want me to do with this?
Absolutely. And that is valid. And I do know there have been a number of instances where persons have been made to change their behavior because of persons, meaning plan reviewers, have been made to change their behavior, or in some instances, give an ultimatum to change their behaviors or move to somewhere else because they are a hindrance to development in the city.
No, that's good to know.
Yeah. So but you're right. The big issue, what complicates this, is this piece that all buildings, all development must be done in conformance with the city ordinances and the building codes. So the problem is, how do you interpret these things? I mean, many of these things are written in the forms of statutes, and for interpreting this, one plan reviewer will actually look at this and say, well, you're satisfying this. I mean, you might not meet the letter, but you're meeting the intent, and so we'll leave. Another one will say, no, you have to meet the letter. And sometimes they could be right when you have the words like shall and all the kind of stuff. So it depends on how plan reviewer and the inspectors are interpreting the specific issue.
Okay, let's go ahead and let people know that like they're not the only one. You see what I'm saying? Like that's really important.
And I came in kind of reluctant to do this, and I told you I wasn't going to say a lot of that, but once I got into it, I think it needs to be said, and people need to hear this.
I actually agree very much that it is the reality. This is the experience that you have. I mean, we're on here, we're trying to provide a perspective, but that's your experience. It is right. It's real. I mean, to pretend it doesn't happen would be disingenuous, in my opinion.
Right. And you said something earlier. I know we're ready to wrap up. The supervisor is going to back his worker every time. I'm a supervisor also. I'm an owner, and I employ quite a few people. And if a customer calls me and complains, I deal with the customer. Absolutely, I'm sorry. We're going to make sure we correct this. We don't get that often, but that's my job as the supervisor, to assure and give the a peace of mind to the customer.
Yeah.
Then address my employee privately.
Separately.
You know?
And that's what I was saying. I might not have said it in as precise and succinct a manner, but the reality is what I'm saying is that the supervisor in the room with the plan reviewer and yourself, in his head, he's interpreting the whole situation in the room, and he's probably making the decision that in there he might want to appear to be supporting the plan reviewer.
With all that does cause discouragement to the people that you're trying to, you know what I'm saying?
I am with you. You are right, because
And I'm not challenging you, so don't feel like I'm challenging.
No, man, we're there's a discussion.
Absolutely.
This is actually what we want. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's more productive this way.
Absolutely.
100%.
So the only thing I wish would have happened, and I'm gonna sum my part up. Only thing I wish would have happened, at least give me some reassurance before I left the room that we're gonna get to the bottom of. You understand? Give me a peace of mind to let me feel. I didn't want to walk out of there feeling like I wish I never had this meeting. Is that somebody else? And then the next person up, I really wouldn't want to talk to that person because I've dealt with that person also. There's no ifs, ands, buts, and maybes. When you go down there, it's them against you. So, and that's the feeling I have, the feeling that the people that I've spoken with have. It's a battle. It's literally a battle dealing with them, and all they need is just come off the defense just a little bit. Listen to us. Listen to the people. Just listen. And let's just see. Okay, I know your rules. I know your dialogue. But right now, for me, everything is about money. Everything is about money.
I'm sincerely hoping that that we get views from them on here too. That I think that would at least provide a little perspective. So
send me a link and I'll send it to a couple of people that I know work there.